hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs once again begging a federal judge to let him out of jail before his October sentencing. This time, his legal team claiming it's not just unfair, but unprecedented.
Diddy's final hope just got crushed. Trump's shocking decision changes everything. Guys, this is absolutely insane. Diddy's last lifeline just got completely severed, and I'm not even exaggerating here. President Trump has basically slammed the door shut on any chance of a presidential pardon. And my friends, when I tell you this man is running out of options, I mean it. We're talking about a $50 million bail offer that got rejected faster than a bad pickup line. The walls are closing in, and with sentencing just around the corner, Diddy might be looking at spending the rest of his natural life behind bars. But here's the million-dollar question that's got everyone talking. What exactly did Diddy say to Trump that made him completely flip the script? And guys, is there any possible way out of this nightmare for the bad boy himself? So check this out, my friends. Trump sat down for this interview with Newsmax, and when they brought up Diddy's name, the energy in the room completely shifted. You could practically feel the tension through the screen.
Clarifies his comments during an interview with Newsmax on August 1st.
Sean Diddy Combs,
right?
Would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something, but he was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, you know, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great. And seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you, sir.
Yeah, and it's hard, you know, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So I don't know, it's more difficult. It makes it more, I'm being honest, it makes it more difficult to do.
But more likely a no for Combs, it sounds like.
Guys, did you catch that? More likely a no. That's basically Trump's polite way of saying absolutely not happening. The man just crushed Diddy's hopes with the most diplomatic rejection in political history. Now, here's where things get really juicy, my friends. For months, Diddy's legal team was playing this whole game of denial. We're not talking to Trump, they said. No pardon discussions happening, they claimed. But guess what? CNN came through with the receipts, and suddenly everyone had to come clean. Turns out, Diddy's lawyer Mark Agnifilo had been working behind the scenes, and when the truth came out, the story got wild real quick. So this is where it gets absolutely crazy, guys. When they finally cornered Diddy's lawyer in this interview, the man basically had no choice but to admit what everyone already suspected.
Any decision on pardons would come from the president himself. Combs' attorney, Mark Agnifilo, said he has not talked to the Trump administration about it. You mean to tell me that you really have nothing to do with a possible pardon right now?
Nothing. I have nothing to do with a possible pardon.
What is Sean Combs saying about the possibility of a pardon?
I think he knows I'm not political. We've never discussed it other than I tell him what's in the news about it. But you know.
And what's his reaction? Does he laugh? Does he say, let's look into it? What does he say?
Go tell him that I need a pardon. Go tell him I deserve a pardon. That's what he said.
Hold up. Did you guys catch that bombshell? Diddy literally told his lawyer, go tell him I deserve a pardon. My friends, that's not the words of an innocent man. That's pure desperation talking right there.
How are you preparing him?
So, I mean, I tell him what the guidelines are, you know, and the guidelines are about 2 or 3 years. And I tell him, you know, the judge could go above the guidelines.
Do you have any regrets in how you tried this case?
It's a good question. Not really.
You called the relationship between Combs and Ventura a great modern love story. Ventura says she was raped, physically abused, and became addicted to drugs because of Combs.
I think that's what makes it, we vehemently deny. And I know, I respect that she said that. I don't think the jury concluded that happened. In terms of the the drugs and the other stuff, I think that's what makes it a modern love story. I think she very much loved him, and I know he very much loved her.
Cassie Ventura's attorney told us that Agnifilos's description of the relationship is a, quote, complete disgrace and affront to survivors of domestic violence.
Guys, calling an abusive relationship a modern love story? That's absolutely wild. And Cassie Ventura's attorney wasn't having any of it. They called it a complete disgrace and an affront to survivors of domestic violence. And honestly, they're absolutely right. Now here's the thing that makes this whole situation even more twisted, my friends. There was actually a time when Trump and Diddy were tight. I'm talking about red carpet appearances, mutual praise, the whole celebrity friendship package. Trump even admitted they used to get along great. But then politics happened and everything went straight to hell. So in this press conference, Trump basically gave us the full breakdown of how their friendship imploded. And guys, it's messier than a reality TV show.
Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up. From what I read, I don't know, he didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden, It's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for our country. As we said, our country's doing really well because of what we're doing. So it's not a popularity contest. So, I don't know, I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact.
Final thing I want to say is this. I asked Joe Tacopina, what about Trump's comment? What does it do to the jury? And he thought it was a nightmare for Diddy that Donald Trump said this. And the reason he thinks that is when the jury goes into deliberations, they could end up saying, well, look, even if we convict him, because we kind of think he's guilty, we're not sure he's guilty, but if we find him guilty, he's probably going to get pardoned because Trump kind of sent...
My friends, Trump is basically saying, I'd help anyone who got a raw deal. But Diddy? That's complicated. And when Trump says something is complicated, you know it's about to get messy. Now guys, here's where it gets really interesting. Suge Knight has been calling this whole situation for years. This man was out here saying Diddy was working with the feds, playing both sides. And that's exactly why he thought he was untouchable for so long. But Suge also predicted that when push came to shove, those connections wouldn't save him. Listen to what Suge Knight said about this whole mess, because this man has been watching the game from the inside for decades.
Do you think he's going to be all right because someone's going to tamper with the jury? Is that what you're trying to say?
He got enough influence, and I'm quite sure, don't seem like the prosecution is that bad against him. Don't seem like I think he got some favors with the government. I think they're going to show him a little leeway. It might not seem like it when it's all said and done, but I don't think he has nothing to worry about. I don't think he's worried because he's going to be federal. And if he get convicted, Trump's going to pardon him. So what's the worry?
You think the President of the United States would pardon Sean Combs for trafficking?
Shit, he pardoned Michael Harris, who allegedly killed a Jewish teenager, or had him. So they don't care about that. It's all about, what's in it for the long run and what the bucks say and what the power of the people want.
How does it go on for so long? When we were on the street, we didn't get a day's rest. The government was all over us. The FBI is all over us. They got investigations on us. They got informants. They got surveillance equipment.
He was not cutting you off, but he was an informant for years.
Was he really?
Yeah. That's why when people was like, oh, he's going to run, oh, he's not. It's the reason why these type of people get caught up, they always been telling they're bigger than the law because they part of the law, And as you know, all these people get tired of their rap.
Guys, Suge Knight just dropped some serious tea right there. He's basically saying Diddy thought he was protected because he was feeding information to the government. But here's the thing. Even informants can become expendable when they become too much of a liability. Now, my friends, here's where Diddy really shot himself in the foot. When Trump was running for office, instead of staying neutral or keeping quiet, Diddy went full attack mode. We're talking about launching his own political movement, making inflammatory statements, and basically declaring war on Trump. And guys, Trump has the memory of an elephant when it comes to people who cross him. Check out what Diddy was saying about Trump during the campaign season, because these words are probably haunting him right now.
Got too serious of a point. Seeing what's going on, white men like Trump need to be banished. That way of thinking, it's real dangerous. This man literally threatened the lives of us and our families about going to vote.
Stand back and stand by.
Stand back and stand by.
Yeah.
We're in a war. We're not taking this like it's a war. We taking this like, oh, we're in a presidential election. No, we're in a war of love versus hate. The number one priority is to get Trump out of office. The tribe of people that have the responsibility and really should be scared to death of this man is white people.
Explain.
If this man is elected, we're not standing by no more getting killed. We're not scared of anybody standing up and standing by. We're on the verge of a race war.
Guys, those are some seriously heavy accusations right there. Diddy wasn't just criticizing policy. He was going straight for the jugular with some of the most inflammatory language you could use in politics. And now he's asking that same man for a favor? The audacity is absolutely mind-blowing. But here's the plot twist that nobody saw coming, my friends. 50 Cent has been playing the long game this entire time. The moment rumors started swirling about a possible Trump pardon for Diddy, 50 Cent went into full petty mode, posting every single anti-Trump statement Diddy ever made. This man turned into a one-person opposition research team, and it's absolutely savage. 50 Cent literally tweeted, "See, Trump don't like stuff like this, buddy. You run your mouth too much." And guys, he's not wrong. 50 Cent knows exactly how Trump operates, and he's been systematically reminding the president of every single reason why Diddy doesn't deserve any favors. The hits just keep coming, my friends. Here's more of what Diddy said that's probably making Trump's decision really easy right now.
Trump need to be banished. Trump gets elected, I really do believe in my heart there'll be a race war. That's why this message is not just to black people. You know what I'm saying? This message is to everybody. This man is really trying to turn us against each other and put us in a situation. America messed up.
Guys, when you're asking someone for a presidential pardon, maybe don't have a public record of saying they need to be banished? Just a thought. The level of irony here is absolutely off the charts.
And Trump even called him a good friend on a 2012 episode of his TV show The Apprentice. The problem is, some comments Diddy made about Trump in recent years as Diddy really entered the political realm. There's a video where he's speaking to radio host Charlemagne saying, "If Trump gets elected, I really do believe in my heart there'll be a race war." In another video on Revolt, he says, "White men like Trump need to be banished." And by the way, you know who's not letting anyone forget this? Combs' rival 50 Cent. Took to social media recently, wrote, "See, Trump don't like S like this, buddy. You run your mouth too much." And Donald doesn't take well to disrespect and doesn't forget who chooses to go against him. While working tirelessly to make America great again, there is no room for distraction. He would consider pardoning anyone who is being mistreated, not Puff Daddy.
Now, Gene Deal, who's been around this industry forever, called this situation perfectly. This man predicted that Trump would never pardon Diddy, and his reasoning was spot on. He understood the politics, the personalities, and most importantly, he knew that Trump doesn't forget when people disrespect him. Listen to Gene Deal explain exactly why this pardon was never going to happen, because this man understands the game better than most.
What about the people that feel like Trump, he might pardon Diddy? First of all, he got to be charged and be in prison to be pardoned. You got to realize that the feds could take this case for 2, 3, maybe 4 years. And Trump will be out of office. You don't know how long the feds are going to go on with this. You understand what I'm saying? You hear people talking crazy talk, well, they ain't got nothing because, man, I've seen the dude set behind bars for 2 years before he had his trial with the feds. And by the time a pardon come in, another year would come by. So that's just a whole lot of propaganda. Puff wasn't even f***ing with Trump like that no more. He was going against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is petty as 50 Cent. Do you understand that? You see how petty 50 is? Donald Trump is just as petty as 50, bro. And he gonna look at it and say, yo, why should I help this motherfucker when he talking shit about me? The diddler. I seen them in a meeting together before. Al Sharpton, Wendy Williams, Puff Daddy, and Donald Trump at the Four Seasons Hotel downtown. And I'm sure he was telling them because all this shit is planned, bro. Yo, you know I'm gonna be president one day. I'm gonna need y'all support. But they flipped. You understand what I'm saying? They flipped. Because everybody was dealing with Donald Trump at one time. That was in the music record business and all that stuff like that. So my whole thing about it is, all that shit is propaganda, bullshit. It's just having somebody, they need something to talk about. Donald Trump probably wouldn't put on Puff if he was on fire.
My friends, Gene Deal just delivered the most brutal reality check in hip-hop history. Donald Trump probably wouldn't help Puff if he was on fire. That's not just shade, that's a complete eclipse. Now guys, here's something most people don't understand about presidential pardons. Even if Trump wanted to help Diddy, which he clearly doesn't, the process isn't as simple as snapping your fingers. Diddy would still have to serve significant time behind bars, and given his reputation in the streets, that's a dangerous proposition.
Trump, he spoke on giving Puffy a pardon. You heard what he said about it?
He still would have, if he pardoned Diddy, as far as I know, he would still have to go through the process. I don't think Trump is just gonna send the marshals or the Department of Justice, teach them over there to the fucking jail, yo, get Diddy out. And when he had friends that went to jail. Remember, he had friends that went to jail who worked for him, who did some shit. What did he do? They went through the same process that every person go through in giving a pardon. And that might take a year, that may take 2 years. But he's gonna have to go through the process first, because I don't think Trump is gonna show him any special favors for him not going through the process. So if Trump said that he may pardon him, he might still have to do a year, 9 months, or even longer than that. And I don't believe he is. I think 50 gonna be right there in his ear. And I think 50 is closer than Trump than Diddy is.
Guys, even in the best case scenario that was never going to happen anyway, Diddy was still looking at serious prison time. And with 50 Cent playing the role of Trump's personal reminder service, those chances went from slim to absolutely none. But wait, it gets worse, my friends. The prosecutors aren't just satisfied with the conviction, they're pushing for the maximum sentence possible. We're talking about them completely ignoring the federal guidelines and asking the judge to throw the book at this man. And honestly, given everything that's come out during this trial, can you really blame them? Here's what the legal experts are saying about Diddy's sentencing prospects. And guys, it's not looking good at all.
Early July, Combs was convicted on 2 prosecution-related charges, each carrying a maximum sentence of 10 years. He was found not guilty on the more serious racketeering charges.
Today's a great victory.
After the July verdict, prosecutors initially expected Combs would face a prison term of 4 to 5 years, according to CBS News. However, according to a written submission filed Thursday in a Manhattan federal court, as reported by the Associated Press, the expected sentence is now substantially higher. The submission also opposed Combs' request to be released on a $50 million bail ahead of his October 3rd sentencing. The filing also says Combs must remain in custody until sentencing unless he can prove exceptional circumstances, and according to prosecutors, he cannot. This comes after a previous bail request for $1 million was also denied following the verdict. A federal judge ruled there was no evidence to suggest Combs doesn't pose a danger to others or the community. With these latest developments, Combs will remain in jail until his sentencing on October 3rd.
Trial prosecutors put in an opposition to Diddy's bail request, and the prosecutors say they're actually looking for a more lengthy sentencing than what they originally thought. In this opposition, the prosecution is laying out the fact that the judge already denied Diddy's bail for being a violent person, and they hone in even more into Diddy's alleged violence against people. Prosecutors are saying that Diddy has actually been lying when he said that he didn't commit violence between his breakup with Cassie Ventura in 2018 up until 2024 with his incident with Jane. Let's go ahead and jump right into this motion. The government says despite the court's clear ruling that the defendant must be detained pending sentencing following his conviction on 2 felony counts, the defendant moves again for bail. The defendant's detention pending sentencing is mandatory. There is no exceptional circumstances justifying his release. Even if there were, the defendant cannot demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he is not a danger to the community. This court properly denied the defendant's request for bail on July 2nd of 2025, and the defendant has failed to present any reason for the court to reconsider its ruling. The court should deny the defendant's motion on this again on that basis alone, but then they get into listing more reasons. The defendant has failed to meet the strict standard for reconsideration. As an initial matter, the defendant's motion is untimely under Rule 49 because the motion was filed 27 days after the court's July 2nd, 2025 bail determination. The defendant fails to meet Rule 49, which is a 14-day deadline. Go on to say that Diddy has failed to show any exceptional reasons why he should be released on bail waiting sentencing.
My friends, when prosecutors are pushing for a sentence that's substantially higher than what they originally thought, that's legal speak for, we want to bury this man under the prison. And with his history of alleged violence and intimidation, the judge seems to be listening. Now guys, here's where you can really see the desperation setting in. Diddy's legal team just made their fifth attempt at getting bail, and this time they're offering an absolutely insane $50 million package. We're talking about putting up his Miami mansion, surrendering his passport, accepting house arrest, giving up phone and internet access, and having private security babysit him 24/7. But here's the thing. When you're seen as a flight risk and a danger to the community, no amount of money is going to change that. Listen to how the legal system responded to Diddy's desperate bail attempt, because this rejection was absolutely brutal. Guys, when a judge says it's impossible for you to prove you're not dangerous, that's not a legal opinion. That's a character assassination with a gavel. No amount of money is going to fix that reputation. Judge Arun Subramanian has been absolutely ruthless in his assessment of Diddy's character, my friends. This man looked at a $50 million bail package and basically said, I don't care if you offer me $1 billion, you're staying locked up. And honestly, when you look at the evidence and the pattern of behavior, can you blame him? Check out how the prosecutors completely dismantled Diddy's bail request, because this response was absolutely savage. My friends, the prosecutors just laid out a pattern of behavior that spans decades. We're not talking about a one-time mistake. We're talking about a systematic operation that allegedly went on for years. That's not something you fix with house arrest and ankle monitors.
Diddy's legal problem. So Diddy's legal team has just filed a motion for bail. They're offering $50 million. They're, basically arguing that it's unfair that he's behind bars, given the nature of his conviction. His attorneys are asking the judge to approve the $50 million bond package, and they want him to live on house arrest in his Miami mansion while he waits, for his convictions. Now, the judge, has ordered Diddy to remain in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center until October 3rd, when his sentencing is set. So, and remember, the judge also, cited during the case that Diddy's admitted violence towards his former lovers, including Cassie. He said, quote, it's impossible for the defendant to show he possesses no danger to any person. So he said that. So that's the reason he felt that he needed to stay behind bars. So I'm wondering, you know what I mean? If this this will still apply.
To the Sean Diddy Combs case, we may learn this week if he will be released on bond while he awaits sentencing. His lawyers filed a request asking the judge to release Combs on $50 million bond. Combs was convicted earlier this month on charges of transportation to engage in prostitution, and he was acquitted of more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. The government is expected to respond by this Thursday. Combs' sentencing is scheduled.
Guys, when that final bail denial came down, reporters in the courtroom said Diddy looked absolutely deflated. This man went from thinking he could buy his way out to realizing that all the money in the world couldn't save him from the consequences of his actions.
What's going to happen with this Diddy trial? Federal prosecutors are now responding to Diddy trying to get out, right, while he's waiting to get sentenced. And so basically what prosecutors are saying is that they believe that his response, that his crimes reflect aggravating, not mitigating factors, and they want to justify his continued incarceration. Diddy had said that he's just a John. He's not the one that participated in having sex with these male escorts. He only watched. Right. And his ex-girlfriends are the ones that had sex. Well, they said that ignores the fact that he transported individuals for the purpose of prostitution on hundreds of occasions over the course of decades. And they also said he did ply Cassie and Jane Doe with drugs to make sure they would participate in marathon freak-off sessions while victimizing them through his violent outbursts. So they said he should not be released on a $50 million bond because he does pose a danger.
Sean Diddy Combs has been denied bail after the verdict in his trafficking case, and here's how he took the news. According to NBC News reporters in the courtroom, Combs appeared, quote, deflated as his hopes of going home were seemingly dashed as his lawyers attempted to convince Judge Aaron Subramanian to release their client ahead of his sentencing. In his ruling, Subramanian cited Combs' years-long pattern of violence as a reason for him to remain behind bars, adding that he continues to be a danger to others and unable to follow the law. Arguing that Combs, who pleaded not guilty to sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, as well as transportation to engage in prostitution, was acquitted on the three most serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering and only convicted of prostitution-related offenses. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo insisted he should be released on appropriate conditions. As Agnifilo outlined, Combs would be willing to put up a $1 million cash bond, co-signed by his mom Janice Combs, his sister Keisha Combs, and Sarah Chapman, the mother of Combs' eldest daughter Chance Combs, and have no access to his private plane, which is currently grounded in Maui. He also agreed to surrender his passport, undergo drug testing, and restrict travel to areas of New York, Florida, and California as necessary to attend court.
When you see a man who's used to getting everything he wants suddenly realize that money can't buy him out of this situation, that's a reality check that hits different. The look of defeat in that courtroom probably told the whole story. Now, my friends, here's where Diddy's legal team is really grasping at straws. They're trying to argue that since Diddy was allegedly just watching from the corner and not directly participating, he shouldn't be convicted under the Mann Act. But guys, when you're the one organizing everything, paying for everything, and directing the whole operation, being a spectator doesn't make you innocent. It makes you the mastermind. Listen to how Diddy's defense attorney is trying to spin this whole situation, because this argument is absolutely wild.
Sure. So the Mann Act was passed in 1910, and it's changed a few times through the years, but really what it's geared at, what it's focused on, is prosecuting people who make money from the business of prostitution. And that's not the allegation against Mr. Combs. The allegation of Mr. Combs, what the jury found, essentially was that he was a user of services provided by workers, essentially a John, for lack of a better word. And the Mann Act just historically hasn't been applied to Johns. It's a financial statute. It's really been applied at people who look to make money from prostitution. And so since that's not how it's being applied here, we made the argument that we have to, under the case law and the statutes in this area, that this is an exceptional reason and that Mr. Combs should be considered for release on bail because of it.
Guys, they're really trying to argue that Diddy was just a customer in his own alleged operation. That's like saying the CEO of a company is just an employee. The mental gymnastics required for this argument deserve an Olympic gold medal. But wait, there's more, my friends. Just when you think this situation couldn't get any worse for Diddy, new lawsuits keep dropping like bombs. Now we've got allegations involving his son Justin Combs, and we're talking about incidents that allegedly happened years ago. The legal avalanche just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Check out what these new allegations are saying, because this could completely change the game.
Self-proclaimed bad boy for life, Sean Combs is facing a series of new allegations of sexual abuse and sexual assault tonight. At least 6 people filed civil lawsuits against him in federal court in New York today. I think the biggest headline from here is that one of these alleged victims was a minor. That's serious.
Very serious, and I agree with you, Elizabeth. Obviously, it changes the game. This is just a civil lawsuit, but if that works its way into the federal criminal indictment, if there is indeed a superseding indictment, that changes the game in 2 ways. One, of course, there's mandatory minimum and very serious sentences for trafficked minors, but importantly, it really gets around one of Combs's defense, that is that the contact happened, but it was consensual between adults because, of course, minors can.
My friends, when allegations involving minors start surfacing, that's a game changer that could completely rewrite this entire case. We're potentially looking at federal charges that carry mandatory minimum sentences with no possibility of early release. So here we are, guys. Diddy's sitting in a Brooklyn jail cell. His $50 million bail offers are getting rejected faster than bad auditions. Trump has basically told him to kick rocks, and new lawsuits are dropping every week. The man who once seemed untouchable, who thought his money and connections could get him out of anything, is learning the hard way that some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. 50 Cent is probably somewhere laughing his way to the bank. Gene Deal is saying, "I told you so," and Suge Knight is probably shaking his head at how predictable this all was. Meanwhile, Diddy is facing the very real possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars, and all the presidential pardons in the world aren't going to save him now. The question isn't whether Diddy deserves a second chance. The question is whether he's finally going to face the consequences that his alleged victims have been waiting years to see. And from where I'm sitting, my friends, it looks like justice might finally be catching up with someone who thought he was above it all. What do you guys think? Has Diddy finally run out of options? Or is there still some miracle play that could save him? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if this breakdown opened your eyes to something new. And make sure you're subscribed, because this story is far from over, and we're going to be covering every single twist and turn. And as always, peace out, Seshers!